Yeah, g'day guys. Welcome to the first episode of my DCS overview series, where I'm going to look at DCS modules which I feel are underexposed. Today we're going to talk about the C-101 Aviojet by Aviojet Dev. In part 1 we're going to look at the EB version, which is the trainer version, and look at stuff like what comes in the package, startup, taxi, takeoff, effects of controls, stalls and spins, some of the navigation equipment on board, and then finally landing. In part 2, we'll look at the C-101 CC version, along with all the weapons on board. Yep, so let's begin by just quickly talking over about the real-world aircraft. So the Spanish Casa C-101 Aviojet is a low-wing, single-engine, jet-powered advanced trainer and light attack aircraft. Designed by the Spanish in the 70s, and saw its introduction in the 17th of March 1980. It was also co-developed by Northrop and Messerschmitt as a advanced trainer for the Spanish Air Force. It's also used by the Chileans, the Hondurans, the Jordanians, and the Spanish. The versions we have in DCS are the EB version, which is the initial trainer version, and then the CC version, which is the light attack version that I'll talk about in the next episode. In both Jordan and Chile, it's known as the T-36 Halcon in its trainer version, and then in its combat version, it's known as the A-36 Halcon, which is, I believe, Spanish for Falcon. Moving on. So obviously it's a tandem two-seat aircraft, student-instructor. We've got a maximum free speed of 417 knots, a surface ceiling of 41,000 feet, and our power plant is a single Garrett TFE 731-2J turbofan engine. The EB version has, I believe, a slightly later version that's got an uprated power plant. So yep, let's get into the actual DCS package. Yep, so getting into the home screen, obviously we've got C-101 Aviojet with a really nice soundtrack to it. It's kind of a chill vibe of Spanish and jazz. Just looking at the instant action missions, as you can see, it's pretty much what you would expect, nothing too out of the ordinary. We've got no campaign, so I'm just going to move straight into the missions, which again is pretty humdrum of a split of CC and EB missions across both Persian Gulf and Caucasus. I don't have Nevada installed, but I'm told it's the same in Nevada. Moving on to the training missions, there's about 4 training missions. They're very, very in-depth, and if you don't follow them correctly, they will fail you, which is kinda, at the moment, the fail requirements are a bit too extreme, but overall it's not a great amount of content you get, but you can't always win. So let's move on to the actual aircraft itself. Yep, so let's hop in and look at the actual aircraft. I've got the Avio Dev skin on. As you can see, the external model is pretty decent. Nice reflection off the aluminium. The control surfaces look nice. They're all not hydraulically boosted control surfaces, so it's cool to see that. What's really cool is the ladder and helmet that you get when the aircraft is cold and dark and there's no power, which is exactly how it would be for the crew getting in. This is the only DCS module that does that, and I think it's an awesome touch, and I really would like to see other modules do it. Obviously, we've also got chocks. They're automatic. They don't work like normal chocks in DCS. But again, it's a great external features, and they're really cool to see. So let's hop into the cockpit now. Let me just hop on my track IR. It's a very nice looking cockpit. Unfortunately, the helmet and the ladder up close are a bit low poly in my opinion, but overall it looks nice. Yep, mat case moves with sound. Just a bit of the control surfaces moving. The physical controls moving. And if we hop into the rear canopy, it's pretty much the same. There's no additional panels and things. Mind that graphical bug there. Overall looks quite nice. Unfortunately, you can't start the aircraft from the rear canopy, but you can easily fly it from there on, from the rear. So, let's just run around the cockpit for a second here. Obviously, we've got our circuit breakers, our emergency panel, moving on to our throttle quadrant, fuel panel, engine and fuel panel, and then we've got our hydraulic controls with this gear and brakes, moving on to a announcement panel, down to our radio set. Then we've got our pilot 6-pack with all our primary instruments. Below that we've also got some navigational stuff for the Taurus navigation system. Yep, there we go. Behind the stick is hideable. We've got an IFF system actually, which is kind of cool. Also this pedal adjustment, which works, which is cool. Don't see that often in DCS modules. Moving over here, we've got a backup ADI, our engine instruments, and then our flight computer, which doesn't act as an autopilot, but is very cool. Over here, the announcement panel, our electronics, oxygen, lighting. There is our ILS and our TACAN, along with audio controls, our VHF stuff, and then just normal environmental controls, and yeah, the map case. So, let's get this started up, eh? So first things first is I'm gonna plug in the ground power unit, which is not necessary, but as I'm about to demonstrate, it's kind of one of also the highlights of the detail AvioDev has put in here, is we get the ground power unit, which is really nice. Again, the only other module that does this is the A4 by the community. So yep, there's our ground power button. You hear the ground power unit rev up, and then the aircraft is energized. So we're gonna turn on the battery so it can start charging. We're gonna turn on the generator. And bus tie, and then we're gonna turn on the inverter. And as you'll see, all our instruments have a sort of bit test. I believe this is due to them going from DC current to AC current. Unfortunately, the ADI in the EV version is bugged. Its little animation isn't in the CC version. So we'll turn on our oxygen, we'll get the dole light blinker there, and we'll turn on our instrument backlighting and the external lights. As you can see, the instrument backlighting looks really impressive. And we'll just hop external here. As you can see, the crew has put their helmets on now, and the ladders have been removed, and the external lights all look nice, and we don't have any lighting bugs. Just a whole bunch of the lights in the canopy can be moved around, along with other miscellaneous stuff like the aircon nozzle. And the mirror is functional, which is sometimes rare in DCS modules. So yep, the radio functions just like the radio did in Hawk, and just like the radio does on the F5, with that nice digital display extra.
Lady, Springfield 1-1, request startup.
So we're cleared to start. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the fuel pumps, and then open our tanks. We're then going to select the fuel quantity selector, where it will draw from the highest tank fullest, I believe. After that, we press start for 2 seconds, and straight away the electrical start of the engine gets N2. Once we have N1, we bring the throttle into idle, and the engine pretty much starts straight up. And the engine sounds lovely right now. Unfortunately, the audio is coming out from the canopy and not the rear of the aircraft, which is disappointing. After that, you can do your post-engine starts. But really all you need to do is turn off the ground power, which I'm now going to disconnect from the aircraft. So now we're running on our own internal power. I'm also going to set up the rear canopy now too. Annoyingly, I have to keep the canopies open to talk to the ground crew. I believe because of the mounting of the intakes, I know it is the case for the L-39, that this is probably not procedure. But yeah, you just close and lock the canopy, like very similar to the L-39. And then we're going to ask Tower to let us taxi.
Lady, Springfield 1-1, request taxi to runway.
I believe when you take the park brake off for the first time, or when you start the engine, the chocks come off. Again, they don't function like normal chocks at DCS. They're more cosmetic, but yeah, they still serve fine, and it's perfectly acceptable to me. Great job, Avio Dev. Taxiing feels great. It's differential braking, so you've got to brake left and right on the individual wheels to turn. Yeah, the aircraft taxis very nice, with pretty responsive control inputs. Yep, so I've just skipped ahead a bit to us just coming on to the holding point just for the runway, where I just want to do a little freedom of movement with the control surfaces, check that controls are full and free, and set the flaps and show the flaps and air brake. Cool, so parking brake back on. So the flaps are electronically powered and obviously have takeoff and landing settings. We'll set that back to takeoff. And then we obviously have our air brake, which is mounted under the fuselage. And controls are full and free. Cool, so let's ask Tower for clearance going to the runway.
1-1, request takeoff.
Also, another cool feature is the fact that we can put the visor down for takeoff and landing as per procedure. I think the other aircraft that does this is the Harrier, but yeah, it's a nice touch. But yeah, visor down for takeoff, landing, and most of flight is normal procedure. Cool, brakes off, got clearance. Let's move out onto the threshold. Again, it's pretty easy to be precise with differential braking, which is nice. Cool. Okay, so brakes on, let's run up the engine to full power. This is a very good example of the thrust in the C-101. It's not great. Engine T's and P's in the green, and airspeed alive. Yeah, the acceleration is not fantastic. So we want to rotate about 110, 115. So yep, we'll start going stick back about now. And there we go, there's our rotation. So what we want to do to compensate for that slightly underpowered engine is we want to set an attitude of about 5 degrees AOA, raise our flaps in our gear, and wait for the aircraft to reach its climb speed of 215 knots. As you can see, such a low angle of attack coming off with the low acceleration can often make you feel a bit afraid as the tree line is coming up. But as you hit around 215, you can then adjust to its climbing alpha of 10 degrees up. Cool. And we'll track the landing lights. Okay, so now we're gonna climb up to 10,000, which I'm not gonna bore you with, because again, the rate of climb in this aircraft is not fantastic. But again, this is all accurately modelled, so well done AvioDev again, because this is just like the real aircraft. So it's really nice to see that it's not a spaceship, unlike another aircraft.
Capable of Mach 3 and an altitude of 85,000 feet.
Cool, so hopping up to 10,000 feet, we're going to get into effects of controls and also look at stalls and fins, which we're going to start with. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the aircraft into a rather steep climb, and I'm going to bring the throttle all the way back. See the speed start to bleed off, and we'll pop out the air brake, which you can just see there. Cool. So yeah, there's our stick shaker telling us we're at the stall, and then we have floppy controls and we're in the stall. Again, normal stall procedure recovery, nose down, get your speed back, and then once again set that straight and level attitude, and once you're ready, stick that stick all the way forward to get the thrust back. Cool beans. So let's hop straight into a spin, because I reckon that's one of the highlights of this aircraft. It has a almost perfect level spin. This aircraft has probably the closest to textbook stall and spins in DCS. The only other aircraft that kind of beats out is the P-51. So yeah, hop into the spin, we get to the stall, we put in the pro spin control inputs, and very quickly we get both a very high rate of rotation and an almost level spin. This is fantastic. Yeah, ridiculously high rotation rate, and within 10 degrees plus or minus AOA. Cool. So we'll bring the nose down and we'll put in alternate rudder to get us out of the spin, and then it's just a normal stall recovery. Now, this is really cool. So, due to the high rate of spinning, we've actually misaligned the gyro in the ADI, and as a result, it's now reading incorrectly. But hey, we're VFR pilots, so we'll fly via VFR. Cool beans. So, let's talk about these effects of controls much more in depth. So let's bring her down low and whip her around. The rate of roll rate is a bit sluggish, but again, it's not bad, but it's not amazing. You will pick up quite a bit of speed in the dive, which is nice. We'll just get down nice and low. Once she's moving, she's pretty maneuverable as long as you don't pull on the stick too much. Again, you'll get that stick shaker, which is the vibration in both the stick and the rudder pedals, telling you that you're exceeding the aircraft limits. I'm not sure if that's just a static don't pull this hard, or if it's a dynamic based on the airflow of the aircraft and the angle of attack. I also don't like that when I can zoom out I see the edges of the visor. It's a bit annoying. But yeah, no, flying it down low, while you can't be as throw it around as much as you can the L-39 or as much as you could with the Hawk, it's still pretty enjoyable. So I'm just going to demonstrate a loop here. Again, pretty humdrum. Because of the stick shaker, you actually you can't really put yourself into a dangerous position, because it kind of makes sure you're putting the same amount of back pressure at all times. but it will cause you to come out high on the loop like I have now. Last thing we'll do for effective controls is I'm going to demonstrate a hammerhead. So take the aircraft right into the vertical, speed bleeds off pretty quickly, and then we'll just stomp that left rudder. And there we go, there's a hammerhead. Yep. Personally, I bought this aircraft as a replacement for my Hawk, just as a nice aircraft to sort of piss about in. And it's definitely succeeded in that rate. It feels very similar to flying maybe a more basic military trainer, like one of the turboprops, like a Tucano or a T6 Texan 2 or a PC9, which is quite nice. Very keen to see the Tucano. Here's just a bit of action from the rear cockpit and showing the seat elevation and deviation, which is quite nice. Cool beans. So let's move on to navigation and TACAN and ILS. Yep. So what I'm going to demonstrate is using the TACAN system. So just like most of the NATO aircraft, you simply punch in your TACAN code. In this case, it's 67 X-ray. Excellent. And set transmit receive, and then set the navigation mode to TACAN, and you'll get the normal course heading. In transmit receive mode, you also get a distance counter, which is nice. So what I'm simply going to do is fly in the indicated direction. I'm just going to fly 9 degrees parallel, so that way I can get the course direction indicator aligned and centered, so that we'll be flying straight towards the airfield we want to get to. Unfortunately, you see I demonstrate it. Currently, ILS seems to be non-functional, or I'm missing something critical. If I do find out how to do it, or it is patched, I will definitely link an annotation to a tutorial video, because all the ILS tutorials I've been using have been from a few years ago, before the major C-101 overhaul that we have today. So yeah, hopefully that it's not bugged and I can upload a tutorial video for it. But yeah, as you can see, I've got the CDI aligned now, and we're heading to our course, and obviously you can see in front of us is the airfield we want to get to. So yeah, I'll just demonstrate the mechanics of an ILS. Again, it works exactly like the ILS on most of the other NATO aircraft. And my problem is I capture the ILS signal, but unfortunately I seem to, it constantly wants me to like bank. It's almost like the ILS perceiver is some 90 degrees off. But anyway, yeah, so we're going to line up for runway 07 here. We're going to do an overhead brake into the circuit, because I think we're still fairly high up. Yep. I'm going to bring the throttle back, and I'm going to kick the air brake out. The aircraft is very easy to land. Again, this is a benefit to it's very stable and nice low speeds. So yeah. So I've armed the ILS now, and as you see, I've captured the ILS. And I probably shouldn't be able to capture it because I'm flying parallel to the runway. But yeah, no, so I'm going to roll onto runway heading now. And I'll kick out takeoff flap during this base turn. I'm at the optimal altitude for it, over 1,000 feet. As you can see, when I roll on, midway through my base turn, it's going to tell me I'm aligned with the runway when I'm not. So yeah, I'll put it in VOI mode, which is the ILS mode. And I'm getting that receiver tone. Putting the gear down. Yep, and according to the ILS, I've just flown left of the runway, even though I'm still lining up with it. And so it constantly wants me to bank right off the runway, which is a bit frustrating. And as you can see there by the by the ADI panel down there. It says we've captured the ILS, but it's also like we should have a perfect ILS cross at the moment, and it appears we are completely off according to the ILS. So yeah, don't know what's happening there. Moving on. Coming in with landing flaps about to go out. Yeah, very easy to land. We'll just bring it down to the threshold and then we'll do a flare. Yep, hold the flare and just let the aircraft come to a rest on its own. And touch down. There we go. And just depress the brakes. So, also you get decent breakage performance. I hope you guys have enjoyed this initial review of the C-101 in its current state. Overall, bar the ILS issue, I'm really happy with the module. It's a fantastic aircraft, and lots of fun to fly. So in part 2, I'll be looking at the CC light combat version. Apologies for my cough. So yeah, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. Alright, cheers guys.